strategy. This isn't a hack. This is like a true skill. It's like a skill that impacts how you lead, like what investment decisions you make, how you grow, what strategic decisions you make, and honestly, how you feel about your business. And again, I think most people aren't teaching it because in some ways it goes against like what we want in terms of like sales and buyers and all of those things. But I will say it's the thing that has kept my business growing consistently without burning out, without overdoing it, without second guessing, and honestly growing in a way that feels good to me. But I feel like there's hi Michelle, good to see you. I feel like there's like a truth that we probably need to like start with here before I like tell you the thing and then I'll tell you the thing right away. But like the truth that most people don't want to hear that feels like the important precursor to this conversation is that no one else can be the CEO of your business. You can hire the best strategist, like the coolest, smartest, most skilled mentor, the most skilled team, whatever. But if you're wanting someone else to tell you exactly what to do to guarantee it'll work, you're not running your business. Like you are outsourcing your power. Like you might as well hire a CEO for your business then instead of a coach if that's what you want, right? Like that is so important to say. Like when we do that, we are outsourcing our power. We're like, if someone would just tell me what to do, I would go do it. Like that is, you are not being the CEO of your own business, truly. And that will always backfire. That will always work against you. And so the thing I want to talk about today is how to do that. So like the skill that has made me the most money, built the most trust, and brought me more ease than anything I've ever done is discernment. Because that's what it takes to be a CEO. And that's what it takes to like stay in the game. It's not just someone tells me what to do and I do it. It's like someone gives me advice or feedback or whatever. And then I practice my own internal discernment around whether that works for me, my business, my team, my clients as the CEO of my business. Do you see what I mean? So discernment is the skill because no one can fucking be the CEO of your business except for you unless you're hiring a CEO position. But where people get so confused is they think that hiring a coach or mentor or strategist or team member means that they get to abdicate responsibility, which means they don't practice discernment. And so they end up building a business that's just a bunch of shit other people told them to do. And they wonder why it's not working. Okay, you see my point. Manali said, sometimes I have to remind my clients of this with love. Oh, hell yeah. Like, I think that that's our role as coach sometimes. It's to be like, yo, you have to step up and lead right now. You have to step up and be the CEO. Like, with all the love in the world, because it is always easier to give away our power in some cases. It is much more comfortable in the moment to be like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Right. And I'm not saying we can never have those moments. I have a client whose baby, giving her a run for her money right now in terms of sleep. And sometimes she'll be like, yo, just give me a little bit more, like, give me a little something today. Like, what do I need to go get done this week? And I'm like, I got you, girl. That's different than her being like, I truly cannot. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't trust myself. I don't know. You just tell me what to do and I'll go do it. That is a completely different thing. Like, I'm not saying we never give our clients, some specifics or support or whatever, or even help them know the specifics or give a very strong recommendation about what might be best, et cetera, et cetera. But that should always come with a side of, and it's your decision to own. You are the CEO. What feels best to you? What works best for you? What's your body telling you? What's your gut telling you? What's your intuition telling you? What is your discernment telling you? And if you have a coach that doesn't make that important and or that if you push back with discernment, that takes that personally, that is such a red fucking flag. That's actually not what I want to talk about today. In general, I want to talk about like practicing your own discernment, but I just want to say that piece because it's a heavy duty one. Yeah, exactly. Diane said so true in life in general. Hey, Alyssa, love the flowers and the new image. Thank you. Yes, I like milking these birthday flowers for all they're worth. I'm like moving them around my house wherever I'm going to like see them as much as possible. Um, Totally. You can't outsource your CEO decisions. Nikki said, and when this happens, a CEO consistently abdicating their responsibilities, it creates literal hell for the employees, team members, and customers. Right. Because it's not like you're abdicating them and then actually giving them to someone else. Like if your coach is just telling you what to do and you're doing it and you're not practicing any discernment whatsoever, your coach still isn't stepping in as CEO of your business. There's just an absence of a CEO in your business, is what Nikki's saying. And so that's why this is so important to name, is like, if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it unless you hire for that position. Okay. And so part of being a CEO is discernment, practicing it, owning it, holding it, making it an important part of every single decision, tactic, strategy, whatever that you do. And I want to get into like a lot of specifics around that. But what the online space does is it works against most of us on that. It says, listen to me because I know better. I've made more money than you. I obviously know more. I'm whatever, somehow better than you in XYZ way that I have pedestaled myself. So I know better and you're supposed to listen to me. I have the answers that you don't, so you have to buy my shit. Like, you see how it like kind of works against that. And then there's these like little parts of us that are like, oh, good, I don't want that responsibility anyway. So I guess I'll just buy from so-and-so because she's made more money and knows better. And that's where we get into such a deep trap that is really hard to pull our way out of if we're not practicing discernment. And that's how I think so many people end up with a business where they look around and they're like, this looks nothing like I want it to. Or like, wow, no decision I made is showing up in this. Like, this is a copy of someone else's and it doesn't feel like mine, or whatever the kind of like existential crisis moment is that we can experience in business. It almost always comes from the fact that we didn't practice discernment along the way. I'm not saying we don't all do that. I mean, welcome to like my entire 20s. It was like, oh, I'm supposed to like get this amazing job and get married and whatever. And I had such little discernment in like what actually made sense for me in that. But like, here's what happened. When I turned 30, I had to burn all of that to the fucking ground. And start over to fix that. So trust me, I've learned this lesson the hard way in a lot of ways, which I think is why I focus so much on bringing it to my business, because I know what it's like to wake up and look around and be like, wow, I didn't intentionally make any of these decisions from me around what supports me, around what's best for me. And nobody's going to do that for you, right? Like, my ex-husband wasn't like, hey, do you want to get married? But also make sure you practice a ton of discernment around if that feels good for you, blah, 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 right? Your coach isn't probably gonna, I mean, even I don't do that. Like, I'm not like, I always say to my clients, like, hey, your job is to listen to your gut and our job is to put strategy around it. And I'll say like, hey, how does that feel for you? But I'm not like stopping them every single time and being like, have you practiced enough discernment around this? Are you absolutely sure? Da, da, da. I mean, like, again, we'll do check-ins, but like, no one's going to do that for you but you. Okay. Again, you can have the right support that calls that out a little bit, but even that is like hit or miss. Like, again, most of the time I'm saying to a client, like, hey, what do you think about this? How do you feel? Does this feel good for you? What does it feel like in your body? Blah, blah, blah. But like, even that, like, I'm not perfect at that. You have to do that for you. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Nikki. So discernment is the skill. And like, to define that, which I probably should have done, I don't know, 5 minutes ago. It's like, for me, it's like the ability to make clear, aligned decisions that truly support your long-term vision. Like, even when the short term feels like noisy or unclear or uncertain or tempting, or there's a shiny object or whatever, like, discernment is that ability to be clear and aligned with the decisions you're making that support what you want long-term. Okay. And so strategy without discernment makes no fucking sense if you really think about it. It's like trying to follow a map without knowing where you want to end up. Like, what's the difference? Like, who cares if you're getting there fast if you're going to the wrong destination? You know what I mean? And so that's why it matters so much, because if it's like aligned, clear, long-term decision making, then everything else has to be shaped by that. Your strategy, your tactics, your plan, all of it. And so if you're not practicing that discernment, you're just like, oh, okay, so-and-so gave me a map and I'm going there. Like, okay, but do you want to go there? Like, I don't know. Most of the time, we're not even stopping to ask that. Again, like me in my 20s, I didn't really stop to ask, like, do I want to go there? I was just like, oh, I'm just supposed to go there. That's what, like, like the narrative, the broader narrative that I'm like engaged in is like, I'm supposed to want the house, the dream job, the husband, the blah, 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 blah. Right? There was never like does that make sense for me? Does that feel best for me? What does this feel like in my body? if I was being really discerning right now of what I want long term, does this fully align with that? Like, I wish I could say I asked that more. I just fucking didn't, you know? And again, I think so many people don't in their businesses, and it leads them to this point where they look around and they're like, I don't even care if it makes money. I hate it. Or it never made money because I hated it this whole time, right? And it just is so bad for us emotionally, mentally, physically, all of the above. Marie Christine said that's so true. Who cares if you're going fast if you're not going in the right direction? Exactly. Like, trust me, because I've worked with these clients, right? Like, I've had the clients that have come to me that have the 500,000+ business, and they're like, I hate everything about it. I'm like, okay, great. I hear you. Let's change it. But I'll tell you what, and they'll tell you this too. Like, this is not news to them. It would have been a whole lot fucking easier for them if they would have listened to that at the beginning, as opposed to having to tear it down later on. It's doable, but it's a lot of damn work to do it once you're already there. And it takes so much balls, so much discernment, and so much commitment to yourself. And I think a lot of people build that up over time. So that's fair. But like, if you do that at the beginning, it's so much easier. So that is the skill. I think it's also like what separates like the CEO from the person who's just executing someone else's plan. So that's kind of why I was leading with that at the beginning, because the CEO is like, this is my business. This is where I'm in my power. I make this look how I want it to look. I set the direction. I set the vision. And the only separation between that and someone who's just like, well, my coach told me to, so I did it. Or like, this program said I was supposed to, so I am, is discernment, right? It's not that you can't have strategy, support, mentorship, like all of that is super valuable. Like, but you cannot hire your way out of needing discernment. You cannot delegate your way out of being a CEO if you want to build a business that feels really good to you. Truly, I just cannot say that enough. I feel like if I look at my own business and journey, if I hadn't practiced that discernment, I wouldn't have a revenue share model. Hands down. I think I've talked about this a lot before, but like basically no one I talked to about that thought that was a good idea. you know, I definitely wouldn't have a 7-figure business if I hadn't practiced that discernment of being like, I totally get why they're saying that. And something in me like knows this is right for me. I think another example of this is, and I've talked about this really quite a bit, of like when Megan and I, who Megan was my COO for like what, 8 years, probably almost 7 or 8 years in my business. When we were kind of getting to that point of like, I just felt like we were going in different directions. Like, in a lot of ways, it didn't make sense to do fucking anything about that because Megan's amazing. She knows my business better than anyone. She knows me so well. She's been my ride or die. She's been with me. Like, so like, if you just look at that from the outside looking in, it's like, okay, whatever. You guys are kind of moving in different directions, but like, so what? Can't you just hang for that? Like, can't you just make it work until you don't, and then you're stuck, right? And so that I had to practice such a high level of discernment of like, this really is going to be very hard for me. This doesn't make sense. And quite honestly, I did have a really hard team year after that, but I knew with listening to myself, practicing discernment, looking at my business from a CEO, actually going, what is my gut telling me? What am I feeling about this? That was the right move to make. And for a long time, it looked like it wasn't. And you still have to hold that commitment to your own truth, to your own discernment. And I think that that's what gets really hard for people, is they'll listen for a minute, and then if it doesn't work out immediately, they're like, oh, never mind, I must be wrong. And it gives them more of a reason to outsource their power. Then they're like, well, I'm not listening to myself anymore at all. I'll just outsource all of my power, when really discernment looks like listening to it, continuing to listen to it, continuing to listen to it. If it's still there, continuing to listen to it, even when it looks like it's not perfect. Like, that is what it looks like to build, hone, refine, and use that skill again and again. Now I can look back and go, oh yeah, that was totally the right move for us. I think Megan's a lot happier. I know I'm in a really good place in my business. Like, it really was. And it took time to get there. It looked like it wasn't working. It looked like, why was my gut ever telling me that? Like, that doesn't even make sense. And it did. I think I've shared this story on here before, so I won't go into it in depth, but I think about this all the time with like the rental property. that I bought before this house, like when I walked into that, my gut was like, yes, this is such a strong yes. Like I just full body knew we were supposed to buy that. And it was an absolute disaster and shit show. But the way every single thing worked out with that, it ended up being like a home that my friend really, really needed to stay in for a month for her family of like something that happened with them. It ended up supporting like a bunch of people in our life in really crazy ways. And then it ended up getting wrapped up right like 3 days before this house went on the market so that we had a ton of like liquid cash sitting there to be able to like immediately purchase this house if we wanted to. And this is like, our dream house. Anyway, my point is a lot of times discernment looks like doing something that feels true for you, being willing to hold the truth of that slash the consequences of that, right? Because that's another thing that a lot of people find really hard about discernment is that not only does it mean that you have to make that decision and listen to yourself, but it means that you have to be the owner of that decision and you have to hold the upsides and the downsides, the wins and the consequences. And most people don't want to hold all of that. And that's why we outsource our power as a CEO, because we don't want to be responsible if it doesn't work. We don't want the consequences to be ours. We don't want to have to go, fuck, why did I buy that property? Oh my God, why did I make that decision in my business? Oh my God, that makes no sense. It doesn't seem like it's working out. It would be so much easier if we could go, well, that coach told me to do it. That's why I did it. It's our fault. Now I just need to go hire another coach and this won't happen again. Like, so much easier. Literally all of us would prefer that in a broader sense. You know what I mean? To be like, oh yeah, none of this is on me. I just like do it. And if it doesn't work out, and if this person doesn't tell me the exact right thing, then I go hire this person. Like that is the easiest version of life and business in a sense. In another sense, it's the hardest version of life and business because you're constantly tossed around by everyone else's discernment and not your own. You're constantly flailing. You never feel rooted, grounded in self-trust, whatever. But at least you don't have to deal with the consequences, is how it feels. At least you don't have to be responsible for that. And I think a lot of us that maybe often found themselves in trouble or have really good girl conditioning really find that attractive. Like, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want it to be my fault. I want to be good, And so listening to our gut and acting based on that can feel really, really, really threatening to that sense of safety. But it is the single most important thing you can do if you don't just want to get fucking eaten up and spit out by this industry, because this industry will take your discernment every chance you give it. It'll go, I know better than you pay me. Every chance. And a lot of people do, and they will, and they'll keep paying and they'll keep going, well, it wasn't my fault. It was this program. It was this coach. It was this thing. And I'm not saying it's never the coach or the program. Sometimes it fucking is. But again, you have to have enough discernment to even decide that. You know what I mean? Let's see. Okay. Such a beautiful skill to develop as a business owner, listening to your body and gut feeling and trusting it 100%. If we feel that we need to strengthen that skill, how would you start by doing that? Okay. I'm going to talk about that. I think that is like obviously the most important question we can ask here. So definitely going to get into that. A couple examples I wanted to get like of where I've had discernment because I feel like it's helpful to see that. Saying no to creating new programs all the time just because I can. Like as a CEO, I make the call based on like the vision I have for our business and the data, not because it's what the industry is doing or what someone thinks I should do or whatever. And so from a perspective of like going all in on 101 in the revenue share model, that was entirely discernment based. No one thought that was a good idea. No one told me I should do that. But my vision is to scale a business with one-on-one. So I had to make every decision and use all my discernment to keep aligning to that long term, right? I'm not saying it's easy, but it does give you great results that actually feel good to you. Another one I think I used earlier, but it's like with team, right? Like you have to have the discernment there. And I did a whole live stream on how I feel like I lost a little bit of that with team last year. And then once I kind of brought it back and was like, wait, this does not feel good to me. Everything started to shift for the better. Everything picked up speed. Everything got easier. And it wasn't overnight and it wasn't perfect. But when you listen to yourself and your gut, you're always getting yourself closer to what you want. And the only fucking reason to build this business is so that it gives you that. Right? If you're just building a business to like have more money or whatever, fuck it, get a 9 to 5. It's so much easier. I cannot stress that enough. If you are building a business that you want to like live in the context that you want to live and have the life you want to live and do the work you want to do, the only path to that is discernment. No one else can give you that. No one else can do that for you. No one else knows what that is. I think another place that I've used a lot of discernment in my business is around content and visibility and what's felt good when. There have been seasons where I like haven't wanted to share anything. Personally, there have been seasons where it would have benefited me a lot to share more of that, and I didn't feel like it. And then there have been seasons where that feels really fun and engaging to me. And I've just tried to listen to all of it. I imagine that will keep happening for the rest of my business, where sometimes it feels really good to lean into that. And sometimes it feels like this is not for me right now and I need to pull back. And that's even if it looks like it could have been better. Like an example that I always think about here is with Dateable, the business that I had with my co-CEO, Jen. It would have benefited us so much in a season where personal brand is so the thing to go so much harder personal brand for Dateable. And just every time we checked in, it did not feel right. It did not feel right. We could see like that would probably be better for us. And also using data and discernment, we were like, let's not. Well, turns out that was probably the right thing all along because we were so easily able to sell that business because it wasn't so based on personal brand. And so we had a really successful sale of that business because it was a business that existed separately to us. The discernment, the listening and the paying attention, the doing what felt most aligned for us is what got us there. Hey, Lacey. That's so important. Amelia said it is hard. I'm curious your process to shift. What was your best tips for making this shift? Yes. Okay. Got it. I promise I'll get there. Another one that I wanted to just share really briefly, and then we'll get into like, how the fuck do we do this? Because that's the whole point. Is last year I had paid in full for like a mastermind program and was in it for a bit. And then I was like, something about this no longer feels okay. If I'm listening to my discernment, if I'm listening to my own judgment, this thing doesn't feel good anymore. This thing that happened doesn't feel good. And logically speaking, like it would have been easy to be like, oh, whatever, it's fine. Keep going. You're benefiting in these ways, whatever, moving on. But my gut was like, no, I am not going to be in a place that does not check every box in terms of like what I want it to do for me, how I want to feel, the safety I want to have, etc. And so I literally just like walked away from that space. I didn't get any of that money back. I paid in full and I like respect, that exchange and that contract. But I will tell you, I felt lighter. I felt more free. I felt like I had my back completely. I felt such a high level of self-trust. I felt like I was reparenting myself. Like, I know that sounds cheesy. And if you're not in that psychology, whatever psychology babble world, you might not know what I mean. But like, I felt like I was like, girl, I got your back. Something doesn't feel good to you, I got you. It matters. I'm willing to put money, reputation, success all on the table to have my own back and to be in situations that feel good to me. And that is such a powerful feeling. So a lot of times discernment gets you more of what you want. It gets you like more money, more success, all of that, because you're like really building a business from that CEO lens. But sometimes discernment means you're leaving money on the table. Discernment means like in that situation, technically I lost quite a bit of money. But what I will tell you is I don't know how I could have paid for that level of self-trust. I don't know how I could have paid for that level of like, I have my own back so completely and so fully that it was worth it to me. So like, again, sometimes discernment looks hard. It's like a really tough decision. It looks like something that maybe doesn't work right away. It looks like leaving money on the table. It looks whatever. But I guarantee you, if you're practicing that, what you're building is this level of self-trust, self-compassion, certainty that is untouchable. Like that will move with you from every iteration of your business, every model, every offer, every whatever, and it will support you every single step of the way. And that you cannot get by outsourcing your power or outsourcing your decision making. Like it will not come from that ever. Hi Lauren, happy to have you. Yeah, sometimes you have to be your own cheerleader. Like I think as a CEO, like you have to have your own back. If you are wanting someone to have your own back or care more about your business than you are in such a difficult place. If you are like, I will always have my own back, I will always practice discernment, I will always care the most. And so by default, I will always trust myself the most. Like it does get a lot easier from there. Okay, so in terms of like how the shit do we do this? Um, Here's what I would say. I think so. This is like a bit of a human design thing, and I really am not good at this at all. If any of my peeps on here are human design people, let me know. But I think that we all have ways that we lean into this the best. I think human design tends to speak to this really, really well. Like, are you someone who needs to sleep on decisions? Are you someone who makes a really quick decision? Do you tend to, have like a very quick gut feeling? Do you need to like ride the wave of your emotions before you make a decision? Like, I think knowing how you operate best, when I used to do sales calls, I would ask people that on the sales call. I would say, tell me about your decision making. Like, what does that look like for you? Like, are you going to know right away if we're the right fit, or do you need to like sit with this for days? Like, what does that tend to feel like in your body? And I would really ask that because I wanted to know like, hey, how can I support you in that decision-making process too? Like if I don't hear from you for a week, like, okay, that's fine. That's just part of your process. And three, I really wanted them to get in touch with themselves first. Like if you're not a quick decision maker, don't make a decision on this call. Like if you're someone who needs a lot of time and space to process, don't tell me you'll let me know tomorrow. Like let's get on the same page with that. Like it can be whatever you want it to be. And I think as a CEO, that's really true. Lauren says I have quick gut feelings, but I pray on things before I make the decisions, whether it's business or personal. Yeah. So like all that matters is what feels good to you and you know your process. You're like, I listen to my gut feeling, I take some time, I pray, I sit with it, and then I feel really solid in knowing that. Like I think we all just have to build our own practice around that. I typically have a very quick gut reaction, but I'm a super external processor. Which like I think that combination is probably deadly in a sense because I think it drives my husband crazy because I like want to externally process it with him, but I already know what I'm going to do. So, that's fun for him, but like it is how I operate. Like I probably already know what I'm going to do about this, but it just helps me to like talk it out, to verbalize it, to whatever. Great. It doesn't matter, but like we have to respect that in ourselves. We have to take the time for that. I think so many people don't cultivate that practice. I think even just the phrase, like, I really want to sit with that and I'm going to get back to you. It's like so underutilized in business. We feel like we owe our client, our team member, our potential coach, whatever, like these quick ass decisions. And we don't owe anybody that. I would love to sit with this and I will get back to you is the most fair statement ever. Like truly. And so I think it's just giving yourself, again, as the CEO, enough respect to be like, what, Fortune 5 CEO would we expect that he or she owes everyone a decision all the time, at every moment, whenever we want it? None. You know what I mean? We would be like, oh yeah, they like have to do what they do as a CEO. Like they might need to think about it. They might need to go consult with somebody else. They might need to look at the data, blah, 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 blah. Give yourself that too. I really think that's so important. A second piece of that I think matters is this is why I love data. Because I think that what I see happen with people with data, and this is again, like why I love it so much, is because one of two things happen. Either you see the data and you're like, I fucking knew it. I fucking knew that. Like my gut has been telling me that all along. And now the data is saying that. Okay, great. And then it's like easy to move. Or you see it and you're like, I know it says that that's working, but I don't freaking feel like doing that. Okay, great. That's your discernment too. Like data is not there to make you listen to any one thing 100% of the time. It's there to help you listen to your gut. So you're either like, oh, I freaking knew that, like, da, 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 amazing. Or you're like, I know it's telling me I should do that, but like everything is telling me not to. Like when I look at that, I'm like not inspired. I'm not excited. I'm not feeling confirmation. I'm feeling, Okay, great. Now you have discernment too. Like you get to decide what you do with that. And obviously, for everyone, the decision will be different and nuanced. But like having data is such a good bounce point. You know how people will say, like, flip a coin, and then you'll know right away, like, what your gut is feeling. To me, that's like data is like the better version of that. It's like read your data and you'll know right away what feels good to you in your business or not. Um, Lauren said, you're so self-aware. My husband and I process things differently too. Yes, it does help to know that for sure. Marie Christine said, I usually get a quick gut feeling, but the best decision for me is when this excitement stays for the few upcoming hours, days, depending on how big the decision is. I love that. That's super helpful. I think that that's so good too, where it's like, sometimes I think when we're quick gut feeling people, we can feel like we're supposed to move on it like immediately, but you can be a quick gut feeling person who still wants to make sure that gut feeling sticks. And like, that's super fair too. Um, but so anyway, that's like one of the reasons I love data is because I feel like it is like such a quick gut check. And it's so obviously informative on so many levels. Um, I would also think about, okay, so those are two ways we can listen. A red flag for that would be notice when you're outsourcing that clarity or that decision to other people. Like, do you find yourself saying to your coach, like, well, just tell me what to do and I'll do it? Like, do you feel that energy of like you're putting that over here? Or with your team? Are you like, well, I don't know. What do you want to do? Like, even when I'm asking my team for their opinion, I will almost always try to be like, hey, I'm the CEO here and I know the decision stops with me, but I'd love to hear your take on that so that they don't feel like they have to carry the weight of that while also getting to weigh in, right? There's a big difference between are they carrying the weight versus are they weighing in? That's really valuable. So when you notice your energy is trying to give the weight to someone else versus when you're willing to confidently be like, hey, I know I'm the CEO here, but I would just like love to hear your take on this. You can feel the difference in that energy. You can feel when you're like, I just really don't want to, like, someone just tell me what to do. And I'm not saying you don't get to honor that feeling. You absolutely do. But my suggestion would be to treat it as a red flag. Oh, this is a red flag that I'm not feeling equipped enough to make this decision. What do I need to do to support myself there? Oh, this is a red flag that I'm not trusting myself enough. What do I need to do to build that trust there? Oh, this is a red flag that this decision feels so scary for me that I want nothing to do with it. What do I need to build safety there? So when you can see that as like, ooh, something's off, that's your discernment. Something's off that needs to be fixed here. That's like all you need to start having discernment. And I think that part's so important. Um, of like, okay, something's not quite right here. I try to do that with my team a lot where I'm like, am I looking for them to make a decision because I don't want to make it? Am I looking for them to make a decision because I think it would be easier if they did? Like, what's the reason behind it? And if I can figure that out, it's easier to create discernment. Um, Holy moly, light bulb. Yay, tell us what your light bulb was. I would love to hear that, Marie Christine. Um, but yeah, I think that like that's so it's like we have these things of like, okay, we need to like look at data, see how that makes us feel. We need to actually take the time to be quiet, know our decision-making process, listen in. Then we also need to know what our red flags are, right? It's a red flag if I'm going like, I just tell me, just a little, or even if you're looking for a program, notice the red flag of if you're going, oh, I love this particular coach thing program so much because I feel like I'm not going to have to make any decisions. The most giant waving red flag ever, right? And here's the thing, don't make yourself wrong in that. Honor that part of you. Oh, interesting. I'm having a craving here for more ease or more certainty. How do I go give that to myself? But don't trick yourself into thinking the way to get that is through someone that'll just tell you what to do and you don't have to make any decisions. Like that is the scariest place to be as a CEO. Making sure we're not asking others to make a decision we're supposed to make. Exactly. Like if you as a CEO of your company should make that decision, please, please, please do not give that to somebody else because you are putting yourself in harm's way with that. If they're not the CEO, they don't have the consequences of the CEO. You know what I mean? So like the decision is not well matched to that. Like the weight of that decision without the consequences of that decision are not well matched. And I think that's why a lot of people get thrown in coaching so much, is because the coach is so willing to take their power and make all these big decisions, but the coach has absolutely no consequence from that. Like, obviously mine's a little bit different in the sense that we have the partnership, and so I have more skin in the game. And so with a lot of these decisions we're making with clients, I have consequences to that because it will impact my income. But even that, even as much as I have a business model where I do experience consequences alongside my client, nobody will experience it more than them as the CEO. And it's important to like acknowledge that. Excuse me. So I think that's another big one. The other one, and this one's nuanced because I think it can be complicated. You do want to check in on how something feels to you. I mean, something I do say a lot is like, your feelings make a shitty CEO, which I think they do, because a lot of people can take that really far, where like every small feeling they have is like directing their business. But then a lot of people take that to the other extreme, where no feeling they have ever should matter in their business. And that's not good either. Like, your feelings are a guide, are a director. So if you're consistently having the same feeling over and over again in your business, it probably is telling you something. Now, you have to put on your CEO hat and think about, from a neutral place, if this is what it's telling you, what do you need to do? What needs to happen strategically? You don't want to behave from this really emotionally reactive place, but your emotions still inform you, just like the data, right? The data you can take in as a CEO and it can be a guide, and then you can make decisions from there. Same with your feelings. Take them in, let them be a guide. Do you feel like shit in your business all the time? That's guiding you. You know what I mean? Do you feel bad every time you get on the phone with this one team member? For me, that was an example with that program. Like, do you feel bad every time you interact with this person and think like, huh, that felt off. Huh, that continues to feel off. Like, I'm not saying you need to behave in an emotionally reactive way. Again, of like, fuck this, I hate this, like this person's fired, not doing this stuff. But that is information coming in that you need to stop and take the time to listen to. Marie Christine said, I'm thinking that we could start practicing that with small daily decisions, like listening to our discernment. Totally. Like, do it with really small things too, of course. Like, I think that's such a beautiful way to build that self-trust of like, oh, when I just stop for 2 seconds, it's this. And this is another good practice on the daily decision thing. You can tend to feel how your body feels with like full body yeses or nos. Like, feel like over years of practicing this, I kind of know what my cues are for when something feels like a really strong yes in my body. Like, I experientially know what that feels like in my body. And I also experientially know what a really strong no feels like. I have this decision that I've been sitting with for a little bit. It's a personal one, and it's really interesting because my brain wants the answer to be no. Like, a lot of things would be easier for me if the answer was no. But every time I check in with my body, the answer is yes. And I fucking know what that feels like, unfortunately. No, I'm kidding. And I know what that feels like. So I can go, huh, my brain wants it to be a no. And like, in many ways, it'd be easier for me if it's a no. But the more I check in with my body, the more it's a yes. It's a yes. It's a clear yes all the time. And so that's really, 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 really influenced my decision making on that, because I want to build that trust with myself and my body. I don't want to just pick the easy thing all the time. I want to go, what is actually best for me? What is actually my own discernment? When I actually check in with my body, what is it telling me? What is it saying? And so I think just knowing what that feels like to you is really important. I'm certainly not like the somatics expert on that. I just know I feel like I've honed that over the years. I'm sure there are a lot of like amazing somatic practitioners or practices that can help you tap into that even more. But I really do think like the skill of listening to your own body and what it's telling you is like really incredible as a CEO. And then I also think another thing to just check in with is like, where are patterns coming up? This is something I always see with discernment, is like, when we have a really well-worn pattern, it's hard to find your own discernment. So like, for a lot of women, I think their pattern is like feeling not enough. And so they're like, oh, I'm not doing enough here. I'm not doing enough here. I'm not doing enough here. I should be better here. I should be better here. Should I buy this program that teaches me how to, whatever, be a better coach or something like that? That pattern will always say yes, because it's like, of course you should buy that. You're not good enough. You're not doing enough. That's not necessarily a gut feeling. That's like a well-worn pattern. And so something you can really do is like stop and ask yourself, like, would I make this decision if blank? So whatever your thing is, like, would I make this decision if I was feeling fully enough? Like if I truly felt fully enough as a coach, would I still buy this program? Right? If I really felt fully safe and in control, would I still need this thing? If I really felt whatever, like if I didn't feel totally scared, would I be making this decision? If I wasn't comparing myself to other people constantly, would this be right for me? I think that's also really helpful. Like know your pattern and then like ask that check-in question um around it of like, would I be doing this if I didn't feel this, would I be doing that? Again, not that we're not listening to our feelings, but if we know our patterns, listening into where am I just in a pattern that I'm trying to break and where is this different can be really, really helpful. And again, that's practicing discernment. Um, and then the last thing I would say is like track this in yourself. Like I can really go back and track like, oh, I totally listened to my gut on this decision and that's how it played out. Oh, I really didn't listen to my gut at all there. I listened to someone else and here's how that played out. Oh, I really did blah, blah, blah here and here. Like, not that you're like doing a retrospective of like making yourself right or wrong in all of these situations, but you're more like building a narrative of like, oh yeah, almost every fucking time I listen to myself, I get it right. I'm like on my gut's like leading me in the right direction. And that builds a lot of trust. And I think that makes it easier and easier to listen in again. And so it's almost like build a track record. It's kind of like launches. Once you've had multiple really good launches under your belt, it's like easier to like be like, oh yeah, I trust that this next one's going to be good and I know how to do this and da da da. Like discernment's kind of similar. Like once you have quite a few examples under your belt where you're like, yeah, when I listen to my gut, it pretty much works out. You can build that again and again. Like something I feel like I say as like an affirmation and as like a core truth of mine is like, my gut has never led me wrong, listening to other people has. And it doesn't mean I don't listen to other people, but it means that my gut is hardcore pushing back against what someone else is telling me. I know who's going to win there every time. I'm always going to listen to my gut. Right. Um, that's the game, is like, do you build enough trust with yourself to know that? And do you have enough of a track record to see that in yourself? Because that's what builds it over time. And I think especially as a CEO, like I've been in business now like 9 years. So easy for me to be like, my discernment is the key. Right. So I can do a live stream like this and I can be like, oh yeah, discernment's the best skill. It's amazing. It's this, it's that. But I also have 9 years of experience of that under my belt. And I'm not saying you need 9 years to get to that point. I'm just saying like, I have enough evidence. A year in, I probably wouldn't have been doing this live stream. You know what I mean? I probably would have been like, yeah, I mean, like that's important. But now 9 years in, I have a totally different perspective. I can go, oh yeah, discernment has been the best and most important skill every single step of the way. But like it's taken me looking back at that, being reflective, seeing what happened in a bunch of different scenarios to get to that point. And so just like track that in yourself, build that trust, look at that closely, see that, how that's like shaping in your business. And it will get easier and easier to find yourself going there and practicing that discernment more often. So I hope that helps. It really has been the thing for me. Like it has kept me from chasing those shiny strategies. It has allowed me to grow without this like need to like always prove more or do more or listen to someone else or do something else. Like, it has just been so important. So I would ask you to sit with this. Like, what decision are you thinking about right now? And have you truly practiced discernment around it? If not, please give yourself that. Give yourself time, give yourself space, listen in, look for your red flags. Like that is going to make such a difference and it's going to build so much trust for you as the CEO. So I hope that helps. Again, I don't know that I could have done this live stream a long time ago, and I don't even know if it would have totally landed for me. But the faster we realize what an important skill this is, and the faster we start building it, the easier every other decision, strategy, move, whatever becomes in business. So I hope this is that for you. So thank you guys for being here. I'm so appreciative of you as always. Again, if you were here today and commented, you're entered to win a gift card because I just so appreciate you taking the time. So thank you for being here and I will see y'all next week. Bye guys.